YouTube, welcome back to the Built on Boxes YouTube channel. My name is James White. I am the trucking lawyer. If you're new to the channel, this channel is about me transitioning out of the full-time practice of law and into my other businesses. I currently have a trucking business and food truck business, and just trying to work for my family and work for myself and have a little bit more free time. So that's what this whole journey is about, and I'm just kind of bringing you guys along with it. Nothing I say is intended to be legal advice, and I'm not going to create any lawyer-client relationships in the process of recording this video. Please like and subscribe and continue to comment in the comment section. We love interacting with you guys. And look, let's get into it. I want to talk to you guys today about two things that can be absolutely fatal to your business. It doesn't really matter what kind of business you have. You could have a trucking business, you could have a barbershop, you could have a restaurant, you can have any sort of business, any service related, product related business. These two things can be fatal to your business. By themselves, each one of them can be fatal to your business, but in tandem, they will almost certainly be the reason that you go under. And those two things are, one, greed, and two, ego. What prompted this video is that I've seen a couple of posts online over just in the last 24 hours that have just got me fired up. And I mean, look, I'm nobody, guys. I'm not anybody special. I'm just a person with an opinion. So when I say the things I say, it's not to take a shot at anybody. It's just my concern is that somebody that might trust me or look to me to try to figure something out will cross over with some of these other people, and if I don't address the things that I hear that are wrong, they might think that they're not wrong, and they might find themselves in a situation where they're stuck and don't know what to do. So one of the things that I saw posted about was this idea that if you're in a trucking business, you should have one LLC company that holds the equipment and have one LLC company that does accounts payable and does accounts receivable, and pay people out of that account. And so that way you can skirt the rules of the W-2 employee versus 1099 contractor. And so the way to do that legally in this person's mind would be to have one company hold the equipment and one company handle all the money. Look, what about this, guys? What if you just did the right thing by people and you recognize that it may be legal? I don't know. I'm not a tax consultant. I'm not a CPA. I don't get into all of the little loopholes. The point is, why do you want to work so hard to save 7% in payroll taxes? And so this is what I always do. I always do this to myself, because as lawyers, what we do, if you think about it, the way that lawyers are successful in illuminating facts or changing people's minds is we use the power of question to cross-examine what we consider to be flawed or bad idea. And so I would say to anybody asking that question, I would say, why would you want to do that? And this is why I'm asking. You don't want to have employees. Why? Have you ever considered why people don't want to work anymore? And when I say people that don't want to work anymore, I'm not talking about people who, have gotten stimulus checks and tax returns and they're on unemployment. Let's take the politics out for a second and forget about the fact that it's probably a little more lucrative for people to sit at home right now in this economy. And let's forget about that for a second. That's not what I mean when I say people don't want to work. I mean, McDonald's can't get anybody to work for $12 or $14 an hour. Chick-fil-A can't get anybody to work for $10 or $11, $12 an hour. Nobody wants a job. Why do you think that is? People don't leave bad jobs as much as they leave bad bosses. And I know you're probably thinking, well, James, how is that related? Well, I'll tell you how it's related. You have to think about things instead of being a linear thinker. You want to be a systems thinker. You don't want to think, okay, well, I'm going to throw this ball and that ball's going to go over there and hit that car, and that's going to be the only thing that happens. Well, what if you go to throw this ball and a dog is over here and a dog sees you getting ready to throw the ball, and the dog reacts and runs over in front of there, and then the ball stops in the middle of the road, and then a car comes along and hits the dog? There's more to every single, that's a silly example, I know, but I'm saying that there's more to every single possible thing, every move that you make. There is more to it than just that move and just the effect of that move. The cause and effect of that particular action and reaction, there's so much more beyond that as a business owner, you have to think about, okay? I want to try to encourage you guys to think from a systems perspective when you consider what is the best thing for your business. And what I mean by that is all of these things, all this extra work, you're going to set up an extra company to hold your equipment. You're going to set up an extra company to handle your accounts receivable, all with the single purpose of just avoiding having employees. Well, what are you saying to the people? That's my first question. You want to hire this guy. employee A. Well, let's call him 1099 contractor A. And you want to put him in your $100,000 piece of equipment, and you want him to drive down the road. You want him to make you money. Let's say he's your only driver. Without him, your revenue is zero. With him, your revenue is $300,000. You've decided to pay him, let's say, 25% of the load. So that means that he brings in $300,000, then you pay him $75,000. You're willing to tell that employee, you're just a write-off to me. You're not an employee, you're a contractor. You're just a write-off to me. You're gonna make him self-employed, and you've made up a whole new company just so you don't have to show that person that has given you 100% of your revenue that they're valuable to your company. So I'm just saying, think about it from this context. Think about it as a whole. It's like treating a gunshot wound with a Band-Aid. You know, the symptom of a gunshot wound is that there's blood, okay? You can treat the blood, you can treat the symptom, you can put a Band-Aid on it, and you'll stop being able to see it bleed, maybe. But what if you just treated the underlying condition? What if you sewed up the hole? What if you took out the bullet? What if you disinfected all around? And what if you repaired anything that was broken inside and then you closed it up? And you actually treated the issue, the systemic problem, instead of the symptom. Well, then you've got a whole new ballgame. So think about this. Why does nobody want to work? They don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad employers. They leave bad bosses. You should want to be the opposite of what they're running from. Why are you here? Why are you here today trying to work for you? Now, some people are like me, and I have an insatiable appetite for trying new things, like new business ideas, and trying to find out different ways. It's like a puzzle to me, trying to figure out different ways to make money. Nothing can change me. That is who I am as a person. But what if you're just the person who just had a really terrible boss, who had a really terrible employer, and you're just like, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm gonna work for myself. You should want to be the opposite of that. You should want to hire employee A, make them an employee, give them a W-2, and make them feel valuable. Pay them more than you have to, treat them better than you have to, make them feel like part of your family, so that once they figure out that, oh my God, I actually have the skill here, I can go apply for my own authority and drive my own truck, and I don't even need this person. You at least want them to struggle with the loyalty factor involved in that. This idea that it's worth turning people into a number just because you want to save 7% on employer taxes. So what happens is you actually get 1099 that person. I don't care how you set it up, that person's still an employee based on the IRS guidelines. And you can think whatever you want to think, and lawyers can tell you this and accountants can tell you that. If you find yourself in court and you've gone to all that trouble and set up all those businesses just to cut corners on employer taxes and to make sure you can 1099 people, you're going to get hammered. I mean, that's all there is to it. You can think whatever you want to think. Illegal doesn't mean anything unless there's an enforcement action. So you could find yourself in court and everything you thought was going to be fine and legal is not. It's just you skirting the rules, and it's going to come back to bite you. But even if it never does in a legal way, what about the employee that doesn't feel any loyalty from your side of the fence? What about the employee that's wearing your brand? You should want to make these people proud to work for you. You should want to make these people proud to be a part of your team, so that everybody who's wearing your logo benefits from having worn your logo. You know, I don't know why we don't want to do that. And then everybody that has a bad idea, at the end of it, they write, each one teach one. What are you teaching them? If you got a bad idea and it treats people like numbers and it tells people that they're nothing but a write-off to your company, please don't teach that to anybody. Because each one teach one, a load of garbage, is exactly how we got to the place that we are. You need to be teaching people how to do it the right way. And in order for you to do that, you got to learn how to do it the right way. So that's greed. That 7% that you will make is not worth the human capital that you lose when you tell people that they aren't important enough to your company, in spite of the fact that they represent 100% of your revenue. They aren't important enough to your company that you can't shell out 7% for their employment taxes. No, you'd rather them go struggle to prove their self-employment income buying a car, prove their self-employment income buying a house, doing anything that requires traditional financing. You know, it's hard to get a loan when you're self-employed and you're a 1099 employee. It's really hard to get a loan. You have to prove sometimes 10 years worth of self-employment income in order to get financing for a house. So these people that are helping you make 6 figures a year, you're leaving them to deal with the downside of self-employment taxes. All over 7.2% or something like that. So to you, you're just like, oh, well, how can I get as many tax write-offs as I can? Or every dollar's not worth it. It's not. No, it depends on what you have to give up. And when you have a human capital or human collateral cost, it's not worth it. If you paid a person, if you had a $300,000 a year revenue and you paid a person $75,000 a year or $78,000 a year, whatever it is, it's, you know, somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 a year. If you had somebody that wasn't reliable, that was leaving your truck in a Walmart parking lot 3 states away, that was coming to work drunk or coming to work high, I bet you I could say, hey man, for $450 a month, I'll give you one of the most reliable employees you'll ever find. I bet you'd happily shell out that $450 a month to get that person. But now you've got them and you're not willing to spend that $4,000 a year to make them feel important. It's crazy. Please don't teach that to anybody, and please don't do it to anybody. Show people that they're valuable. Stop the corporatization of small business. Just be good to people, man. Don't make people want to run from your company the way that you ran from wherever you ran from to start it in the first place. Number 2, ego. Saw a guy on YouTube last night. I'm not going to call him out, and he's just getting started. Man, I'm a capitalist. I don't care if you're spreading peanut butter on a piece of bread. If you can figure out a way to get 1 million subscribers and let YouTube pay you for that, yeah, man, more power to you. I'm a capitalist. I believe every person should make as much money as they possibly can make. Okay, that's what I believe. Okay, me included. But this guy claims to have 15 years transportation experience, and he gets on YouTube and he tells his idea is this: that you should create essentially what he called a memorandum, a contract, and that when you are in the process of picking up a load, that contract should say on it that the person that you're getting the load from agrees the weight of things that they put on your truck matches completely what the bill of lading says, and that any discrepancy is the responsibility of this person that you're going to ask to sign this document. And then this YouTuber went on to say that this is a legally binding and enforceable contract, and that by having the guys at the warehouse or wherever you're picking up the load from sign this contract, that you are protecting yourself in the event of you getting a DOT fine for being overweight. I don't know much, guys, but I am a lawyer, and I do know this. That is the silliest notion that I've ever heard of in my life. First of all, if you've ever picked up or dropped off a load, you know that the person that is in charge of loading or unloading you at a warehouse or a shipper's location could care less about what's on the truck. They could care less. You'll find out, if you don't know already, about how much time you have to sit there. They don't care. Most of the time, a lot of times, they're not even employees of the company. They're 1099 contractors that have been brought in to help load stuff for what they call lumpers. They're not even employees of the place that's giving you the stuff. Here's what you need to understand. In order to have a legally binding and enforceable contract, the person signing their name to the document has to have authority to bind the company in contract. So they have to be an actual agent of the company with the authority to bind that company in contract. So one of two things is going to happen. When you present your homemade contract that you thought was a clever idea to the shipping people when you're there to pick up the load, that essentially says everything you say on this BOL is accurate, and if it's not, you have to pay the fines. When you do that, that person is going to either A, which is the most likely, refuse to sign it and tell you to kick rocks. Okay, that's probably what they're going to do. If they do that, then you're going to have to make a decision. Are you going to have a standoff with this person? Are you going to abandon the load and ruin your relationship with the broker? Or are you going to sit there and eat humble pie and be like, oh, well, I guess that was a bad idea. I'll just tuck my tail between my legs and I'm going to go back to my truck and take whatever you give me. Those are your two options if the person says, kick rocks, I'm not doing it. The second thing that could happen is that person could sign your contract and it's absolutely unenforceable, because that person probably is a 1099 contractor that was brought in just to move things on and off the truck. They don't have agency authority to bind that company in contract. They don't have the authority to say, yes, we'll pay your fines if we're wrong. Here's the other thing to consider. To the extent that you would be able to use that as a defense to you being charged a DOT fine, the bill of lading already says that. The bill of lading is a representation that the company makes on their letterhead that is generated from an actual agent of that company that says, you've got these products and each of them weigh this, and it says like ConAgra Foods or it's Superior Metals or whatever it says, but it's from the actual company. it is already a representation of what the things that they put on your truck is supposed to weigh. So the thing is completely unnecessary. It puts you in a situation where you have to potentially have a conflict with somebody who does not care at all about your business. You're going to do harm to your business, do harm to your broker relationship for something that has no force and effect. On top of it, you already have a bill of lading that has been signed by an agent of their company telling you what was on there. To the extent that that's a defense to being overweight, you already have it. You don't need to create a situation or room for additional conflict with somebody who will refuse to sign your paper just because. I mean, it is so silly. I cannot believe anybody would think that's a good idea. But I wanted to get on here, guys. I don't mean to pick. I really don't. Like, I'm not trying to be ugly about it. And like I said, I hope to God this guy gets 1 million subscribers, and I hope he makes tons of money off this. I really do. But this idea that you can go out here and do this kind of stuff is just crazy. It's silly. You know, it's silly. It's unnecessary. It puts extra barriers in the way. It's not legal at all. It has no force and effect. And he's out here telling people that this is an insider trick, and that's what I have a problem with. So my only concern with somebody listening to me was that that same person might listen to him and think, oh man, that's a good idea. It's not. If you're one of my subscribers, please don't do that. All you're going to do is set yourself up for disappointment, failure, embarrassment, broken broker relationships for no reason at all, okay? I'll do another video explaining agency authority when I talk about dispatching and that kind of thing, that go into that a little bit more. But for the sake of the argument, please just trust me when I tell you, don't make up your own contract to hand to people who have no actual legal authority to sign them or fail to sign them at a shipping yard. So that's all I have for you today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me. Please like and subscribe. Comment in the comment section down below. I'll leave my contact information in here for you guys to get a hold of me if you want to.